Hey everyone, thanks for watching. This is going to be an interesting show for you because it may be one of those topics you haven't thought a lot about, but I think you should. And most specifically, this is going to be around brand as well as social media. And to have this conversation, I brought someone back to the show who was actually the original interview guest because he is my pillar to help create the book, which you see now behind me, the cover. He helped get it published, and without him, that doesn't exist. So I have Josh Culler with me this morning. How you doing, Josh?
Man, I'm excited. And I was actually looking at the banner stand when we were talking before the show. And then I'm like, I forgot about it. And then you mentioned it. I'm like, man, that's awesome. I love that. I need to get one of those. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I'm excited to be on the show, man. It's great. And I look forward to sharing some value with your audience.
yeah. So Olivia said you got to cover up that bookshelf. So I said, got it. Check. Cover up the bookshelf.
It looks good.
Good.
Yeah, I didn't complain on the first episode. It was good.
Yeah, there you go. Well, the reason I wanted to have this show is, obviously this show is mainly about real estate investors and real estate investing. But what I've come to realize with what you've helped me with is, you need to have a brand and then a social media sort of strategy. Because what we see out there, even if you're just a buy and hold or you're, somebody just starting out looking for private money, attention, dollars follow attention. And whether it's a brag book or whatever that is, you as an investor really could think about a brand and then also a social media strategy. So why don't we talk about brand first and sort of give me your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so branding is vital. The way I explain branding is that, and first of all, I want to preface it with this before I jump into that your audience is real estate investors. Like that's their heavy niche, right?
Yep.
So for me, I've actually been in the real estate investing industry for about 5 or 6 years now. Even going full-time into my media business now, I am still focused on real estate investors, real estate business owners, because that's my niche. That's what I know best. And so having said that, the way I explain a brand is that you have to look at a brand as a body. And so you have, so marketing as a body as well. The brand is the face. That's the nose, the eyes, the facial features, the arms, the height, the weight, the skin color, all of it. And then the organs, the heart, the brain, all of that is like the back end analytical side. So the website building, the funnels, the building out an active campaign, all that stuff. That's the different side. That's the side I don't really touch. The branding is more so the looks, the aesthetics, because I'm a creative. But when it comes down to it, a brand is just, if you look at it from the whole business side, the brand is the face. That's like what you're recognized by. For instance, I always use this example, like, what do you think of when you first see an Apple now? Like, it's like on the back of a computer. Like, you don't think, oh, I don't know if that's an IBM or a Dell. It's an Apple. And they don't even, the reality of it is that Apple doesn't even have their text underneath it. I don't remember the last time I ever seen the word Apple under their logo. Like, it just doesn't happen because they've built so much equity in that logo, in that brand, that it's so recognizable. That's their face, right? So from the whole company perspective, right? So your company, the brand is the body, but the left arm might be, sales. The right arm might be your operations. Your left leg is finance, so you have to look at it that way. But at the end of the day, if your salesperson treats a customer bad on the phone, they're going to remember it not by the guy's name, but by the brand they associate it with. Another example I use is like, I don't remember the last time I've been in a Walmart. And here's the reality of it. It's like every single time I go into Walmart, I get treated bad by an employee. And Mike, you know me, I'm an empathetic person. Like, I try to be kind and like give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But every time I go into Walmart, I get treated bad by an employee. Now, here's the reality is I don't remember any of those employees' names. I just remember that it's Walmart.
Right.
So because of that, that gives the thought that, sales might be the right arm, but it's still part of the brand. It's still that salesperson and that employee, that customer service rep is still the reason why I'm not going to associate with the Walmart brand ever again.
Yeah.
So you have to look at it that way. And when it comes down to a logo, a lot of people think that, okay, well, you explain that way, Josh. Well, that sounds more like operations to me than an actual brand design. But when it comes down to a brand design, every single piece of it has something to do with your business. If you look at Mike's banner behind him, you know, we chose that color purple because for very, very, very specific reason. And every single color it emits a feeling, an emotion. If you just Google color wheel, it'll show you all the colors. So every single brand that's out there chooses the color for a reason. The reason when we have the house with the plus sign in it is because his whole mantra is one rental at a time. So it's just, and then if you actually have the book cover, it's hard to see on the banner, but there is actual like houses more phased out because it's one rental at a time, one rental at a time. So there's those subliminal messages underneath it that really make the brand stand out. And so that's the important thing, is just it makes you different. It makes you stand out from the rest of the crowd. So that's the summary.
Yeah, so that's really good. So a couple of things. First, we're going to deviate a little bit because, again, it's my show, so I can do that.
Do it.
Yeah. One of the things I want to give you credit for at Culler Media, in both yourself, is when I reached out to you for help, you were there. And you didn't just jump in and because you're creative, throw something out there. You said, let me look at the book, right? Give me a copy. Let me read it. And, as you know, you weren't the only one competing for the cover, right? Because I realized that was going to be important. But you're the only one that said, I can't make a cover for you, Michael, unless I read the book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's son of a gun, right?
I got him.
The other 10 people didn't ask for anything. I don't even think any of them asked for the summary. So, when you're working with folks and you're working with Culler Media or Josh, he's going to care. He's going to invest his own time to produce something. So shout out to you.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. And one thing I want to mention, just like 20 seconds real quick about that. The reason why I do that is because of the fact that the font, the elements in there, the colors, all of that has to do with what your whole mantra is about. And that's what people miss, is that fact. So when I'm branding somebody, I ask for their VTO, their vision traction organizer, or I get on a branding exercise and go through every detail about their business, dive deep into that, and I use that information to build the brand. So it's all everything's purposeful. That's the big thing.
Yeah. And again, you sort of take it to the end, right? I mean, I remember getting author copies, right? And looking at it, after getting the font up the first time, I was like, oh, it looked good to me. And you're like, no, the book spine, the letters are too close together. I'm like, yeah, oh, sure, whatever. I can't tell, but all right, go fix that. Yeah. I'm like, oh. So again, right, when you take on a job, you finish it, you do it right. And
I appreciate that.
We just did, I think we're over 410 books now. So a lot of credit to you for that in like 50 days or something. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So we're doing something. So back to where I wanted to go originally. So brand and real estate investors. As we both know, in the real estate business, there's so many ways to get in, right? Notes, flipping, wholesaling, all of that. What I don't think most people, even buy and hold, right? What I do, I don't think people appreciate that they really can have a brand, and brand attracts attention, right? Yeah. Do you want to be, I get 50 mailers now, almost a week, from wholesalers. None of them really have a brand, right? I think one of them has a caricature on them. So why don't we talk about how brand could be used? Why don't we hit flipping, wholesaling, and brand new to the business, and we'll sort of talk about how it's different.
I'm gonna try to keep myself from jumping out of my pants here, right? So like, I'll just be 100% honest with you guys. One of the things that I do, one of my strategies for finding potential leads for branding, is I just go to Google. I Google sell my house Dallas, sell my house San Francisco, and I kid you not, every single city, I just take the top 100 cities and I just go through those when I'm doing cold reach outs or whatever. And I kid you not, every single city has at least probably 15 to 20 pages of websites of where I can sell my house. And every single website, every single logo looks exactly the same. That's ridiculous. That's horrible. And you just mentioned it with your mailers. It's the same thing. We have I'm in Northwest Indiana, and we have a buy and seller that is local here, and they've established themselves as the go-to brand for selling your house. And the reason is because the brand that they've built. And so we've had them on the Good Success podcast that you've been on several times. And they mentioned that they'll walk into a house from a seller, and the seller will have like 15 of the yellow cards on their table, and then theirs is on top because of their brand. And so that's, again, it goes back to the purpose of it. It makes you stand out. And when you have the same, like if you just go to Google and Google real estate logos, like they all look the same. Even with yours, Mike, I didn't even, I dig deep when I'm branding a real estate company, and I try to avoid houses. I try to avoid roofs and chimneys and all that stuff. But with yours, it made sense. But here's the reality, is that I didn't find anything that was similar to what you had. That was on that exact point. And so that's why I went with that and used that. So when it came down to it, if you go to Google and you just Google real estate logos, like chances are, if you get yours from Fiverr or 99 Designs, you have the exact same logo as somebody else. And because of that, when somebody sees that, they're like, it creates confusion. Like, oh, are they associated with this other seller? If so, then I could lose a deal, right? And so one example I like to use is, Mike, you know Max Keller. Max was actually the first brand that I designed over in Dallas-Fort Worth. And his business was named Max Buys Homes before we, rebranded him into Save Your Home Buyers. And he said that he had a call one day. He sent out mailers, and he got a call one day, and somebody said, "Hey, I sent in the contracts. I'm selling you a house. What happened? I didn't get any response back." And he said, I don't know you. I don't know who you are. And come to find out later on, the story goes that this guy got a mailer from Max, but he got a mailer from another, I think it was Lucy Buys Homes or something like that. Yeah. And the guy got him confused because their logos were almost the exact same colors and everything. And he actually sold the house to Lucy, but then realized that he should have sold it to Max, and it was just this big confusion. And that's what it creates. Yeah. So if you have a good brand design, it makes you stand out from other people. And that's the key thing, because you don't know how much business you're losing or how much business you could be getting if you had a good brand that somebody can trust and latch onto.
Yeah. What I want to talk about with wholesalers is, before we go to flipping, is wholesalers, it is a marketing game, right? You have the ability you need to be able to attract attention in seconds and realize that you're in a tornado of other people, right? The gurus are running around now talking about how easy it is to wholesale. I know when they come through town, because my mailbox fills up with, 15 different versions, because I have a fair amount of properties. So if you're not taking the time to step back and at least ask the question, how to make your mailer or your logo stand out, you're wasting money. So, if you're a wholesaler out there anywhere across the country, you need to reach out to Josh Culler or Culler Media and just, share what you have and see how you could be different. That would be my big recommendation.
Yeah. And one thing for your listeners too, I mentioned that I would offer this out, but I've written an ebook. It's like 8 or 9 pages. It's easy to read. It just explains the benefits and how to determine if your brand is solid or not. Mm-hmm. So if you just email me, josh@cullermedia.com, Culler spelled Culler. So josh@cullermedia.com. I'll send you that ebook for free. And then basically it's called the Brand Audit ebook. You're just auditing your brand to determine. It has a scoring system at the end for you to be able to determine if yours is good or not. But yeah, and Mike, to be honest with you, I know you're talking about wholesalers, and then we might go into fix and flippers, and it's all the same. It's all across the board. Flippers might have a different volume level than wholesalers, but at the same time, it's still the brand ethos and the brand essence is the same. So
yeah,
just to everybody out there. But the problem is that you have so many wholesalers now. That's even more of a reason to get a good brand, is because of how dense the market is right now with wholesalers. So
yeah. Where I would go with flippers is there's really 2 things a flipper needs to think about, because you're probably going to have minutes where a wholesaler has seconds to attract attention, right? Because your volume is lower. You're actually dealing with an asset, right? You're not above the funnel, right? You're in the funnel at this point. So think about it as, a buyer, right? So all the way down from curb appeal to house colors to things that get them in the door, right? I've never known anybody to buy a house from the street, right? You've got to get them out of their car and get inside. So that could be anywhere from the for sale sign to the, whatever you're doing in front, cutting grass, picket fence, whatever it is. I believe a lot of the flippers out there are not, tackling the curb appeal and kind of presentation of their product. Maybe they do an okay job when they're done, but why don't flippers take a better approach during the flip, right? Who's to say they can't go into contract when they're 3 weeks from being done?
I agree. Yeah, and one thing too, I guess along that same lines is, if you're going to put so much effort into designing a home, put a lot of effort into designing your business, like your brand, like your business cards. If you're not excited to hand your business card to somebody because how awesome the design is, then you don't have a good brand. And so why would they trust that you're going to be able to design a home?
Yeah.
Great. Like you didn't design the brand, but at the same time, you cared enough about the brand and the design that you're going to carry that over into the home you're flipping. So that's some encouragement too.
Yeah. And then again, think about, let's just assume you're a flipper and you're doing anywhere from 6 to 60 a year, right? Just think about putting together a portfolio of what you did last year, right? Put it in your office, or put it on, make it a, something that they could flip when they're coming to view stuff, or make it online. I mean, there's just so many ways, that you could start branding what you produce. And, the biggest compliment I've seen a couple of flippers get is, I want to buy your next house, right? You design great stuff. Tell me when the next one's coming, right? That's what you want. It's one of the things that I've done in my business is I have sold 90% of what I produce is pride of ownership rentals before I own them. Think about that. I get into contract. I just went into contract to buy two houses on one lot. I'm not even closed yet, and I already have it sold.
Wow. That's awesome.
Right. And it's because we do the same thing every time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So now part of that's because I don't do huge volumes, and I get it, right? I do 15 to 20 a year, but hey, if you could sell them.
Does that make your nut?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that make your nut? Like, who cares if you bought and sold 500 deals last year? Like, what was the spread that you made? That's the important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, this is something we get. This is something Culler Media and Josh has helped me with, is understanding, well, if, just, put it out there, show it when it's ugly, show it when it's the middle of the project, show the finished product, and, talk about the numbers, right? Don't be shy, right? Communicate. And, we've done that now through, I think we've completed 15, and people reach out now going, okay, I get it now. When you get the next one, call me. So as soon as I lock something up, I make 3 or 4 phone calls, and they're like, okay, I'll take it. Right.
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool. So that's for flippers and what I call pride of ownership, right? Selling stuff to landlords, and part of the whole one rental at the time umbrella that you've helped me produce. But now let's talk about new investors. This is the one that I have that I want to help, right? Think about this. They're the ones that come into real estate investing. They haven't done a deal yet. They probably don't have a lot of money, if any, right? At least to buy something, but they're so excited, right? So one of the things that I'm telling them to do is they need to go learn their market and start sharing widely what they learn, right? Hey, I found, just picking on my neighborhood, right? I focus on 93702, which is a zip code in Fresno. I look at 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses, 2-car garage between 1,000 and 1,500 square feet. There's 40 listed today. If they spend they spend a month looking every day, they're going to start learning the market, and then they're going to be able to understand what an average deal is, what a good deal and a great deal is. What I want them to do next, and why I wanted you to talk about this, is how can they communicate that they're learning and have value there? Because they need to attract money. And if you listen to Grant Cardone, right, it's dollars follow attention. So as they're learning, how should they be communicating that they're finding value, and really start to build brand equity in their knowledge?
Well, speaking of attention, you mentioned the word attention. That's a really fascinating word to me right now, because what people are missing out on in marketing and in their business in general is, where is people's attention? Like, it doesn't matter if you like it or not, but social media is where people's attention is. I mean, it's so funny. You just look on, go to an airport, or go to a busy store or something like that, where or a dental office or something like that, like where people are waiting or something, and they're not being occupied. What are they doing? More times than not, they're on a social media platform, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, podcasts, doesn't matter. Like, that's where their attention is, because that's just the world that's been created, the reality of it. So that's the first thing, is understand where people's attention is, because you're going to use that, that knowledge to put my next phase out, which is content. You're going to use that knowledge of it, where people's attention is, to put your content out. So it's important to know where people's attention is, but not just people's attention, but your specific demographics attention, right? So more times than not, you know, of somebody that might buy your home, if you're a wholesaler, is probably not on Snapchat, right? Like they just don't care, right? Or they may not even be on Instagram. So like, that's the thing that you need to, you know, analyze, is where is your audience's attention? So first step is, where's people's attention, which is on platforms. Doesn't matter what audience you're looking at. They're all on platforms of some sort. Maybe it is LinkedIn, maybe it is Facebook, but you need to establish that. Then where is your audience's attention? Then you need to establish, like, what are you good at? So are you good at writing? Are you good at jumping in front of a video camera and talking to people, and you're exuberant and you have a good personality? Or do you not like being on video, but you might like talking, so you do podcasting, right? Or are you a good photographer? And the list goes on. Like, what are you good at? That's what you need to establish. Then you build content around that, because what you're good at, normally that's what you will enjoy doing, what you're passionate about, and that's what you'll be good at. Yeah. So that's the thing that you need to analyze next, is that specifically, and then just pump content out. So let's just say you are good on video. Just record videos. So if you're a new investor, like you mentioned, go learn your market. Not just, I take it a little bit of a step further. I actually heard this model from a good friend of mine who's in Northwest Indiana. He's the realtor, but he's kind of thinking about this model in a different perspective, because there's so many realtors in our area. He's like, there's not a realtor really that's out there that can tell somebody that's moving into this area from another area, what is the best restaurant? Like, where's the best coffee served? Where is the best gym? You know, who has the best gym membership? What stores to go to and avoid, like that kind of stuff. Or like maybe even local performances or whatever. If there's a play here or a good school, be educated in all of that. If you're going to stay in a specific market, pump content out about that, because that is going to attract your audience. So obviously you need to focus on what your audience cares about. So if you are a wholesaler, then maybe you need to just talk about the neighborhood or the house next to the one that you have. It's going to be situational, right? So you know, street A might not be as good as street B that you have your home on. So you need to be aware of that as well. But pump out content, be creative. Think about different things that people maybe are doing and you have a better idea how to do it, or something that somebody else isn't doing. But just like anything else that's great, Mike, like you have to use your brain and think outside the box, right? Don't look at it as there's a box. Think outside the box, and then pump out content like that. Put it on the platform where your audience's attention is, and then just keep doing it. A constant drumbeat. One of the things that, and I'll end it with this, this explanation, Mike, is that, and I even had the conversation with you yesterday, is that a lot of people think that, you know, you put out one piece of content, it's going to go viral and get millions of hits. That's just not how it works. Content, if you want millions of hits, then you got to spend millions of dollars on advertising. Yeah. So that's the way marketing works. It's an anomaly when something out of the 10 million videos that get uploaded every single day, like one's going to go viral, right? Yeah. So you got to look at it that way. But just keep consistency and patience. Like content, if you're going to build an audience, content is a long-term play. You have to be willing to just keep putting it out there. Even guys like Gary Vaynerchuk talks about how, you know, for 6 years he put out content and not one person listened. And now if you go to every single platform he's on, he has over 1 million followers on each platform. Right. And so, but it hockey sticks, right? It'll level off and it'll get a little bit higher over time. And then eventually it's going to compound over time. So that's the thing you understand, but just pump content out. So. Yeah.
What I would tell, again, thinking to the new investors who are getting in the game and you're following my model of kind of learning your market and what's going on. I would literally think about creating a library of my videos, right? It's just what I do, right? The videos. Yeah. So I would stand in front of, 123 Main Street going, hey, I've spent a month looking at properties. I think this is the best deal. This is the best deal because of X, Y, and Z. Let me walk you through it, blah, blah, blah. And again, you don't even actually have to own it yet because maybe you don't have any capital. But what you have to do is you have to build 10 videos of 10 different deals you found, because you're trying to attract people that go, hey, I don't have any time. You've now proven it 10 times in a row that you can find a deal. Let's have a conversation. Don't create one.
You might attract the capital.
Yeah, that's the whole idea, right? You go prove
Yeah.
how smart you are, you'll get people calling you back going, okay, I've seen you do 123 Main Street. You also did 123 Hello Street or whatever. Now let's talk. I want to help, right? I want to be a part of this. Let's create some kind of agreement. And the point there is, don't be that new investor who gets really excited, does one video, and then sits down and waits for people to ring. Go do it over and over and over and over again, because you need a library.
Well, let's dissect. Yeah, no, exactly. Well, let's dissect the root of the problem too. It's even further than marketing, media, shooting videos, or whatever. What is the number one cause of fear? It's the lack of knowledge. And when if you're a wholesaler trying to attract capital, and a person that does have capital to deploy sees your video, but then they're like, okay, well, where's the rest of your videos? Like you gave up. I mean, are you not knowledgeable in this? But content establishes that you're knowledgeable in something. That's not the primary purpose of content. Like, it should never be like you praising yourself, but just putting content out there creates the stability in somebody's mind that might be your customer, that you have knowledge in what you're talking about. And because of that, it makes them more comfortable with that. And I was talking to an investor on the phone. He's actually in Canada. You met him, Stephen Fryer. He was at the mastermind, and he's wanting to create content. And I'm like, here's the situation: is that when you create content, you're creating, without even realizing, the people that are going to watch that stuff, you're creating equity with that person without even being face to face or on the phone with them. So then when they do get on the phone with you, it makes the conversation a whole lot easier, because they've already been warmed up to you by the content that you put out. So that's the benefits.
Yeah. So I want to go one level deep, because this is something you brought up yesterday in this I think it was $100 webinar you're going to be putting on. And that's the idea of pillar content, which is pretty exciting to me, right? I'm a guy that's a one-man shop, right? Who does a couple of videos a day. And then you kind of highlighted to me, hey, idiot, why don't you follow Gary V's model and you have somebody help you?
I didn't say that.
No,
though.
you didn't. No, that's just how my internal brain clocked it. It's like, God, I'm stupid.
You said it to yourself after I the softer. Yeah.
Michael, what are you doing? Oh, I'm an idiot. But the whole idea is, if you could take a video and I don't know if you want to call it chop it up or segment it or whatever, because again, if you could take an asset that you create once and then deploy it differently, right? YouTube is great for kind of 5 to 6 or maybe these interview style meetings, which are 25 to 30 minutes, but not good for Instagram. But if you could take a quote or a 30-second or a 1-minute blip and carve it out, that's interesting. And in fact, again, your question, one of the things I might eventually have to do is go get a virtual assistant or whatever you call that in another country, that I'll make that his or her job, because again, one-man shop, editing videos is not my thing. Yeah. But your question led me to, wow, I probably should do that.
So one of the things, so I assume you want me to kind of describe the model in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So the whole model is, and Gary Vaynerchuk's pretty much the one that made this model famous. A lot of people were doing this before him, but he's really talked about it a lot as of late. He even came out, if you Google Gary V macro content model or something like that, he has a 84-page PDF that kind of explains it. The thing that he doesn't explain, he explains the model, but he doesn't explain actually using the tools and how to edit the videos on a more different level. The PDF's more for somebody that's a creative that understands that side, that can use Premiere and After Effects, Audition, and all the editing tools and whatnot. So it latched onto me, but then I show it to other people that are like, this is cool, but I don't know how to.
Yeah, I don't know what any of that stuff is.
So that's why I'm doing the webinar. So I'm going to charge $100. It's going to happen not this. Let me pull up my calendar real quick. I probably should have had that. It's the 23rd, so it's Saturday. I'm going to do it at 12 noon Central Standard Time. So hopefully you're hearing this episode before that. But if you're not, I'm actually going to have it available afterwards, so you can still purchase it for the $100 and get all the content that you had. But the difference is, on the live webinar, I'm going to take a live Q&A, and if there's 50 questions, I'm going to answer every single one of them. So just kind of a synopsis, macro, micro content model, right? So basically you're taking a pillar content, which is this interview. So we're going to dissect it as this interview, Mike.
Sure.
So this is going to be a 30-minute interview, right? So that's your pillar content. It's long form content that'll end up on a podcast, that'll end up on YouTube or even maybe Facebook or something like that, because those are longer form content platforms. But then let's say you have Instagram, Twitter, you have Facebook as well, LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn only allows you to upload up to 10 minutes of video. So you have these other platforms, and it can still even be a podcast platform. But basically you're taking that pillar content and you can take out the highlights, so the best things that we say, and create what's called micro content out of that, which is a shorter podcast. So maybe, Mike, there was a stretch. Maybe you're going to take this stretch of me explaining this or explaining the branding and turn it into a 3-minute little clip that is just value point. It's just straight value, and that's it. No fluff, nothing, right? And so you do that to a podcast, and then you take it and form it into a video. Then you form it into, you take maybe a 5-sentence or a 5-word sentence that I say, a quote. You create a quote graphic out of that and then upload that. Like the possibilities are just completely endless. It's ridiculous. So I'm actually doing this model with a couple people right now. Good Success is one of them, but another one of my clients out of Atlanta, Abhi Golhar, I'm doing all of his macro micro content. He's really becoming a influencer from his personal brand standpoint. And so if you go to his platforms, all you'll see is like just this enormous amount of content that we're pumping out 2 to 3 times a day. And it's from one pillar piece of content. Like it's just one 30-minute video that you could get 25 to 50 pieces of micro content out of that. And the awesome thing is that micro content is more consumable for people because of the fact that we have the attention span of a goldfish. Actually, it's less than a goldfish now, I think. Updated 2019, we are at the level below a goldfish. Just keep that in mind, people. But because of that, like our attention spans are shorter, so that entails that we need to create content that is more consumable at a quicker rate. So maybe you're uploading a 30-second clip of Instagram, and then what I do, a little trick, I'm just going to give you a nugget here. I don't know how many people can create this, but I create a little time slider that slides across the video as it's going down so that people see that, oh, okay, it's halfway through. Okay, it's 3/4 of the way through. I'll just watch the rest of it, so they're not guessing the amount of time. Same thing for the quotes, same thing for the short podcasts. Like you just have to be creative. Again, you just have to think about whatever it is you're wanting to pump out. And so you have to be creative with it. But the webinar is going to teach you basically how you can actually do it. I'm going to teach why content's important. I'm going to teach the content model. Again, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth with it. But then the majority of it's going to be how you can actually make it happen without having to hire a marketing director, without having to hire a creative or outsource that. Like you can do it on your own. Maybe you're a solopreneur, you just got started or whatever, you have a small team. So I'm going to teach you how you can actually do it with specific tools that you don't have to be a genius in marketing to make it happen. So,
well, I assumed that I was going to have to go offshore for this, but maybe I have to get on the video and see if I can do it, or maybe I bring you a pillar piece once a month or once a week and go nuts. Maybe
one example too, Mike. One example too is that what was this, a week and a half ago or so? We had the conversation. I'm like, might be putting these in podcast form, man. Yeah. These interviews need to be going into podcasts. I'm like, do you understand that your audience, they're probably cool with watching videos, but they're busy people. They want to listen to a podcast in the car on the way to their next deal.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest thing. And so now these interviews are going into podcast format and they're available on the podcast platforms. And so that's an example. Like we're taking pillar content, it's recorded once, but it's going out to podcast form as well. And so you're getting it on YouTube, you're getting it on the podcast platforms, and there's an example right there. So
yeah, well, yeah, the next step is to take a video or two and slice and dice. So I have 25 pieces for different things. So we'll talk about that one-on-one after, when we're not recording live for everyone to see. So as we kind of wrap this up, we're right about the 30-minute mark. I want to turn it over to you, where you can hit your ebook one more time, hit the event on the 23rd one more time, and anything else you'd like to do.
Yeah. So again, Mike, I definitely appreciate it. It's been awesome being back on your show and being able to hopefully bring value to your audience. It was a great interview. The first time you had me on, I talked about my book that I had, so that was great. But as for the stuff I've offered, so I don't want to confuse you guys. If you're listening, like don't think you have to get all the stuff that I'm doing. Like pick and choose which one you want to do, because I know that creating multiple calls to action can be confusing to people. So the first thing is that if you're really thinking about, is my brand good? Is the logo that I have decent? Is it going to stand out? Then email me, Josh at collermedia.com. Culler is spelled Culler. So Josh at collermedia.com. And I'll email you the ebook for free. It's like I said, I think it's actually a 10-page ebook, but it basically gives you the tools to be able to audit your brand to determine if it's good or not, and it gives you a scoring system and whatnot. And then the webinar is going to be on it's a couple weeks from now, so the 23rd, March 23rd at 12 noon Central Standard Time. It's going to be an hour-long webinar, but then I'm going to have a live Q&A afterwards. And like I said, if I got 50 questions, I'm going to stay on the line and answer every single one of them for you guys. So I want to make sure that I do that, because I know there'll be a lot of questions coming out of it. But if you're listening to this interview post 323, then I'll still have it available. All you need to do is go to cullermedia.com/content webinar. So cullermedia.com/content webinar. It is going to be $100. I'm doing that just because I only want people on there that are going to take it seriously. A lot of times, Mike, I'll end it with this, just 30 seconds left, is that most of the time when you get on webinars, it's a free webinar and then they upsell you into other products. That's not what I'm doing, guys. Like, I'm not going to upsell you into anything. You're paying the $100 to get the content, and it's no fluff. Like, it's everything. Everything is value that's going to be on there. So there's going to be no upsells. I promise you that. And I'm just going to look to bring as much value as I possibly can on that webinar. So it's $100 because I want people on there that are going to take this seriously and actually make it happen themselves. And so one more time, it's cullermedia.com/content webinars where you can go. I look forward to seeing you guys. So it's going to be great, and I'm excited.
Yeah, again, guys, as we kind of wrap this up, a couple of things I want to just kind of close with. If you're in the real estate investing business, from wholesaler to flipper to brand new, you need to be thinking about your brand. You need to be thinking about how to catch people's attention, because all of us can do a better job of that. I've been in the game a long time, and it wasn't really till getting with Josh and Culler Media that my game went up another level, and I'll always be appreciative for that. So in the end, check out the video, check out the ebook if that's important to you. Get on the event on the 23rd, or go back and listen to it if you've watched this after. And after that, just have a great day. And thank you very much, Josh.
All right. Thanks, Mike.